Hi there, my name is Andrew Jorgensen. I'm the Technical Manager of the Film and Video Studies Department here at George Mason University. In my role as Technical Manager, I'm responsible for managing our equipment rentals program as well as our post-production resources, our post-production labs, and many of the resources we have to offer you here in Film and Video Studies. I'd like to take some time and specifically talk about the equipment rentals program and some of the processes and procedures we have in place in order for students to be able to utilize our equipment cage, and also some mandatory reporting that you must do in advance of producing any films here in Film and Video Studies. I apologize in advance. This is going to be a little bit of a long video. I'm going to be covering some of this stuff in detail. And so I encourage every student to take a moment and watch this video in its entirety at your convenience. But if you do come back to this video later on for referencing specific parts of this process, I have put some timestamps in the description below to help make navigating this video a little bit easier. But without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into some of this important information. So before we get started, I'm going to start by talking about Canvas. As you are abundantly aware, your courses as part of being a student here at Mason are going to be delivered in part or fully through a tool called Canvas. Canvas is something referred to as a LMS, or Learning Management System. And to get there, you're going to go to canvas.gmu.edu and you're going to log in. When you successfully have logged in, you're going to land on something called the dashboard. The dashboard is going to offer all the courses that you're taking this semester, as well as the Film Students Community course. Students that are already in the major or in the minor are automatically added to this course. That said, if you are not a major or minor, but you are taking one of our courses and you need to access this information, it is possible that it may take 1 or 2 weeks after the semester has started for you to be able to see this information or see this course. If you go about 2 weeks or longer and you're not able to see the course, I'm going to encourage you to email film@gmu.edu. Let us know that you can't see the course. Give us your name and G number, and we will do our best to add you as quickly as possible. But that said, when you can see the course, I want you to click on Film and Video Studies Students Community Course. I'm going to view this as student for your benefit. And then next, as I scroll down, you're going to notice that we have some shortcuts to navigate a lot of this course. I want to show you the whole course, so we're going to go to modules instead. And as you scroll through the modules, you're going to see that we pack this with a lot of helpful information and resources. Film office information such as hours and contacts. We have information for student resources such as funding opportunities. The university has money for you to make your films. Technical information such as our recommendations letter. Some production resources like casting, certificates of insurance, our production policies, call sheet templates, post-production resources around the software versions that we run across our lab workstations, educational resources for audio post-production, archival, color correction, screenwriting resources, specifically if you're going to be using Final Draft in this department. There's information about using Final Draft here. Information about our equipment cage, which is what I want to spend most of this video talking about, which we're going to come back to in just a second. Our facilities, where our labs are, classrooms, and other university spaces that students have used to some success in the past. events such as Visiting Filmmaker Series, the Mason Film Festival, internships, professional development, film marketing and distribution. And as you see in all these categories, there's a lot of really interesting resources there. But going up to our equipment cage, our general information tab is going to obviously cover things like our office hours for the equipment cage. It's going to cover information about the loading dock when you want to load equipment into your vehicles. And it is also going to cover our rental policies. I encourage you to take a look at that page at your convenience. There's going to be some instructions, which is some of what this video is covering, as well as a link to our production reporting, Webcheckout, Patron portal, an equipment resource guide, and more. But let's go ahead and dive in and let's talk about specifically the production reporting process. So when you've been given an assignment to produce any work within the department, you are at some point going to be asked by your professor to fill out something called the production reporting form. This form basically is a green lighting process, meaning as an industry term, green lighting simply means that the studio has approved for you to be able to shoot. This process simply allows us to collect information about the 75 or so films that are produced in this department every semester. It allows us to share and disseminate information amongst faculty, staff, and students, and is a really important form that you need to be able to complete. So around the time where you have been given the assignment, you have an understanding of what you roughly are going to be filming, you have a script or an outline, you're starting to gather your cast and your crew, and you have some locations roughly figured out, and you want to reserve equipment, I need you to pause and do this first. So you're going to go to this page and go to this link. It's going to open up in an online application called Smartsheets. I'm not going to cover every single line here. There's information and examples of how to fill out each line. So I'm going to cover some of the more important ones. But if you have any questions about how to fill this form out, visit us at the equipment cage and we'd be happy to help you do so. We also have a copy of this form in paper. If you need help with accessibility, our equipment cage staff are eager and ready to help you make sure that you fill out this form successfully. The form starts with a production title. If you don't have a title for your film, use some sort of description like Sound Project 1. We need your name and your email address, logline information, and project synopsis. There's an example of a logline from a famous film. Kudos if you know what this film is by reading the description. If your film does not necessarily have a logline, maybe you're doing a documentary and you don't quite know what the film is going to be yet, do your best to provide a 1 to 2 sentence synopsis of what the project is about. And this is going to be really helpful for everyone to get an idea of, beyond the title, what you are doing. You're going to next provide your start date and end date. That is when you expect to be in production. And then this is where this tool becomes dynamic. It is going to start changing based on how you answer some questions. First is going to ask you about project types. I'm going to focus on these first two. If you have any questions about the remaining project types, please come see us at the equipment cage. We'll be happy to help you there. The first two are going to be class assignment or exercise and short films. Let's talk about the differences. Your class assignment or exercise is going to be typically a project that is maybe a 3 weeks or less turnaround. Typically is meant to reinforce some of the lessons being taught in class. And it may be something that's technical, right? If you just learned how to use a Zoom and a shotgun microphone and you're just supposed to go out and record some sounds just to make sure you understand how to use the tool, that might be your class assignment or exercise. A short film, on the other hand, is typically a project that the professor anticipates will qualify for the Mason Film Festival at the end of the year. That being said, please follow your professor's instructions on how they would like for you to fill out this section. So I'm going to show you what those two things are going to look like. If you fill out the class assignment or exercise, You're going to need to provide a course number as well as the professor that is leading that class. In some cases, above where you're not working on a class assignment, you may have a staff member supervising your work, so we give some room for people to fill that out accordingly. When you select class assignment or exercise, it's going to ask you two very simple questions. Is this a solo project or group project? And if it is a group project, please tell us the names of the people in your group and what their intended roles are. If your project is a short film, again, course number and supervising faculty is required. Mind you, the supervising faculty or staff is the person that is going to approve this form. Next, you're going to notice that the question is not about is it solo or group. We already know that. But we want to know roughly who is going to be in very specific positions that are commonly understood at this stage of pre-production. We want to know who the director is. We want to know the writer, the producer, cinematographer, DP, production designer, location sound mixer, and editor. Now, that said, you may not have all these positions filled, and that's the point. If there is a gap in this key group of collaborators, this is an opportunity where other students may volunteer to help you on your film, or other faculty that are supervising things like the sound course or cinematography course may be able to guide some of the students in those classes to help films that have these gaps. So filling this out or not filling it out is equally important. The next section that is required on this form that is required for everyone is the risk management review. First question is a safety question. We want to know whether or not your film has anything that is under the guidance of the production handbook, specifically the safety guidelines in the production handbook. If you want to know what those things are, click on production handbook here, and you scroll down, you'll see the safety guidelines. And here is all the safety guidelines that we have as a department. These are safety issues that we're concerned about, ensuring that you are working within some reasonable amount of precaution to help keep your cast and your crew safe. On the form, if you select any of these answers, so let's say we have a film with minors in it, students under the age of 18, we have to address some mitigation steps. So you should look at the safety guidelines, determine what it's asking of you, and address any conversations that you've had both with your professor and or with staff that help guide what is a good set of processes and protocols that you're going to be implementing specifically to address that concern. Not every member of the faculty and not every member of the staff is adequately prepared to answer every single one of these. Some faculty and staff have more experience working around things like water and fire on set, while others may be better suited to answer questions about intimacy scenes and using minors. It's important to answer this question as fully as you can, because it allows us as faculty and staff to coordinate on helping you ensure that you can make a film safely. Next, you're going to answer the question, where are you going to source equipment? Students are going to source equipment from a lot of different places. The equipment cage, Star Lab. Some people have their own gear. Some people rely on equipment that other students have. Some students rent equipment from online sources like peer-to-peer called ShareGrid or LensPro2Go, or they might go to a local rental house such as DC Camera. Depending on how you answer this question, or if you answer the question about off-campus locations, you are going to be asked about COIs, or certificates of insurance. If you say yes to this, it will automatically forward this to the appropriate staff person that will follow up with you and ensure that you have all the tools and resources to get information for a COI. Please keep in mind that we will provide COIs only to locations or rental houses that have required you to provide it. Otherwise, a COI is not needed. If you have any questions about this, come see us at the equipment cage. The last section of the form is about the public dashboard. we need something called FERPA consent. FERPA stands for the Federal Educational Rights and Privacy Act. This basically allows us to be able to publish your name and your information about the films that you are making to other students or to the public. If you answer this question yes, it gives you the option to ask for crew, locations, and resources. If you answer no, it simply means that the answers that you provided on this entire form will not show up on that dashboard. So if you want your film to show up, you want to let people know you were working on a project, you have to select yes here. There's an important note here that says that if you wish to edit anything on the form after it has been submitted, please email filmcage@gmu.edu and we will update that information one time per project. I encourage that at the end of the form, you send yourself a copy of your responses. Now, when you have completed the production reporting form, and if you have selected the FERPA consent, your film will show up on something called the production dashboard. Here, we have the dates of all the students that are filming, information about project synopsis, so that log line or that synopsis tells everybody what you're doing and what your film is about. So please give that line some careful thought. It's basically your first major stage of marketing your project. The bulletin board here is going to give you that information about where are projects that crew are needed, what projects need locations, what projects need resources. When you can offer your services, not just as crew, but you can help students find locations, you can help students find the resources like props, equipment, etc. You can add value to your peers and you can be known as a go-to person that can help make projects happen. And that is a big part of getting yourself on sets. So that's the production dashboard. Mind you, one really important thing about this is that your film will only populate on the dashboard when your film has been approved by your professor. You filling out that production reporting form will email your professor for approval, and then once it is approved, it will show up here. So doing this form as early as you can is important. Okay, so now we've talked about that. Let's shift gears for a minute and talk about requesting equipment specifically. We're going to go back to our modules. We're going to scroll down until we see Webcheckout Patron Portal. We have some information about how the catalog is organized, some questions about troubleshooting if you have issues using this tool. But if we click on here, it's going to automatically log us in since we are already logged into Canvas. When you get to Patron Portal, this is how it's going to show up. You'll notice on the left, you'll have information about access. This is going to show you anything that you have access to that has limitations on it. So if you get certified to use specific equipment in class, you'll be able to start to see some of that information populate here. Centers will refer to all the different offices on campus that allow you to check out stuff through this resource. The Collaborative Learning Hub, us, Star Lab, Student Involvement, and the Ridge are all offices that utilize the same tool. And then finally, the Billing tab is going to give you information about whether or not you have an outstanding invoice that for late fee or equipment damage. Mind you, you cannot pay invoices through this tool. You will need to come visit us at the equipment cage or visit the respective checkout center to pay any outstanding fees that you may have accrued. So for us, we're going to click on the Film and Video Studies Center, hit dismiss, and on the main page, you're going to scroll down. You're going to notice that we have our catalog here, which is going to offer you all the equipment. What I should mention here is the advanced categories: advanced camera, grip, lighting, and sound. This equipment will only be visible when you have taken a course that allows you to rent that equipment. It will not be available initially. It will be available through as the course proceeds. When the professor says, These students are ready. Let's let them have access to the equipment outside of class. We will be able to add you to these categories for you to be able to see them. Otherwise, they will not show up. To navigate the rest of the catalog, you can click on the primary type and you scroll down and you'll notice that here we have all the cameras listed on multiple pages. There's an info tab here if you want to read a little bit more about what's included, as well as a calendar, which as the semester goes along, you'll start to see when certain pieces of gear might be blocked off. Below that, for each of these main types, we'll have some subtypes. Your camera is going to come with a lens, some batteries, and potentially media, depending on the kind of camera you're renting. But that being said, a lot of cameras need to be configured in a lot of different ways. So some students may require things like matte boxes or external monitors, and some students may just simply require the camera. So you have the ability to add different items accordingly. If you go further down, you'll also notice some related types, things that you should be thinking about, like tripods or microphones. So that's helpful. But let's talk about making the reservation itself. So for me to process a reservation and put in a request, I'm going to press New Reservation, select the correct checkout center. It's going to give us a message of the day. You should read that carefully. It does change throughout the course of the semester. And to get started, we're going to start by selecting our dates and times. So let's say I wanted to pick up equipment on Monday and I wanted to reserve it through Friday. You need to be able to select your pickup time. So let's say I want to pick up my equipment at 12 p.m., which is the middle of the day, and I want to return by 6 p.m. I can hit Save Changes. And then if you scroll down here, reservation name is not required, but your class or event title will be required for you to be able to make a reservation. This class or event title is really important. I need it to be as descriptive as possible, and it should be class and event title. So your event title will be your film's name. So let's call this film The Shining for FAVS 300. We're making the film The Shining for Global Horror. Okay. In the allocation notes, you can say anything from "This is my first checkout" to "Can I also get some really long XLR cables?" Right? So if you want to put anything in front of the student worker that works in the equipment office that will be helpful for you during your checkout, put that information there. You have to make sure that you save changes as you go. Some of this stuff may change or may be deleted if you do not hit Save Changes. Next, just like we saw on the first page, that Browse Catalog, we can now start adding some equipment. So let me show you how to add basically a camera and some audio equipment. So we're going to go to FAVS Camera. I'm going to click on View Individual Items. And let's say for this project, I want to rent out a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro. I'm going to press the plus button. And you're going to get an error pretty early on if you are trying to rent equipment that is not in compliance with policy, meaning if you want equipment for longer than 5 days and or you're trying to pick up equipment or return equipment when we're not open. So I need to fix that error before I proceed any further. So I'm going to go to Return to Reservation, and it said that my return time was too late. So instead of 6 p.m., let's do 4 p.m. Save Changes. We're going to go back to Browse Catalog, and we're going to see if we can add that camera again. And voila, we've added it. And then let's make sure we get a tripod for our camera. Scroll down here, go to View Individual Items. I'm going to scroll to the next page, and I'm going to rent a Manfrotto Tripod 502. because I like that tripod. I think it's a really good one. I've had some experience with it. Or maybe my professor told me that that might be a good option for in class. In the sound boom category, I want to pick a microphone. So I'm going to pick the Rode NTG2. This is a good all-around microphone. And then I think that might be all I need, right? I need a camera, I need a tripod, I need a microphone, and I asked for, in the allocation notes, a really long XLR cable. So now that I have this all put together, I checked my class or event title, my allocation notes, I've added my equipment, and I'm going to hit submit. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a pending reservation, which gets sent to the equipment cage. And once we see that your production reporting form has been approved, we will then make it an active reservation, which will then officially block off all your equipment from other students being able to check it out during that period. And with that, that covers our new processes for reserving and managing your equipment reservations. If you have any questions about this process or more, please come see us at the Film and Video Studies Equipment Cage in the Art and Design Building, room 1008, or email us at filmcage@gmu.edu. I look forward to all the amazing work you're going to be creating this semester, and until next time, have a good one and make some great films. Talk to you soon.